Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review Saints Row 2022. And I know I ended up getting the game, which I probably should not have done, but I'm kind of thankful that I did because it's really helped the past couple of weeks with what's been going on a little bit. Like, just having a new game to play that, I'm very forgiving with games. That's the funny thing with people is that, like, especially with my first part of my playthrough, is that everybody sort of overreacted and said, like, it was so funny, like, there was this dipshit who came on and said, "You don't like social justice? Do you know what the opposite of social justice is? It's bigotry." And it's like, no, it's actually not. Like, the opposite of social justice warriors would be, like, hardcore conservatives. Like, I don't know, you know who they are. Like, really, really bad ones. Like, ones who, like, pray the gay away. People like that. To me, that's what the opposite of social justice warriors are. You have social justice warriors. They're so incredibly left that they're basically right. They're right and left at the same time. And then on the other side, you have pray the gay away, electroshock, gay conversion therapy people. Those guys are so right that they're left. It's two extremes. And the thing is that why complain about this? Well, the thing is, with everything modern, it seems like what people are trying to do is they're trying to appease this imaginary group of people who complain about everything. But the thing is that this imaginary group of people, they don't buy the products. They don't buy the games. They don't buy the movies. They don't buy the TV shows. That's why there's a saying called "get woke, go broke." And so what they do too, very notorious thing that they do, probably their calling card, is they destroy old culture. It's very similar to, we talked about the hardcore SJWs. Now let's talk about the hardcore conservatives, if you could even call them conservatives. You have this company called Kerwin Purple, LLC. Now, I have lived in this house that I have lived in ever since I was a kid. Our family has lived in this house since 34 years ago. It's a house that was built in 1864. It is a fantastic house. It is the most favorite place in the world to me. And this evil company called Kerwin Purple LLC is trying to take this house from me. And they're trying to destroy it, so over the top of it, they can build their own culture on top of it, which would be a conservative Stepford Wives style development called Stonehill Village, or as I'd like to call it, Bonehill Village, because they're building it on top of the graves of our pets that they desecrated when they dug up the skeletons, and they, built on top of that. I would call that desecrating graves. So, this is exactly what the SJWs do. They destroy old culture, and then they build their own on top of it because there's nothing else left. That's the other thing, is that there's houses around here on the street. They were also built in the 1800s. All of them are going to be destroyed now because they want to build their own shitty ass culture on top of it. And so another thing that happened in this game, which kind of made me a little bit satisfied, was there was this part where the Saints, they want to get their big hideout, their big mansion place. And so they want to be in this old church and fix it up and there's this evil construction company, and they're trying to tear it down. And so then they find the guy who has the deed, and they basically scare him into giving them the deed. And it was so satisfying, because all I could think of is that if I was able to do that and get away with it, I would, for damn sure. Because it's not right to do this. It's not right to tear down history. It's not right to do that at all, especially when you have a house like this. And, you know, even with talking about, like, history, well, a little thing about Ohio is that Ohio is one of the few states in the Civil War era that never owned any slaves. There was never any slaves owned in Ohio. And so you can't use that bullshit excuse with, oh, we're tearing down blah, 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 because history happened. You know, like, no, you can't even use that excuse. Nobody in Ohio ever owned any slaves. So this house, you know, it's a beautiful historical house, and it's now going to be taken away and destroyed by an evil, disgusting, degenerate company called Kerwin Purple LLC. Or maybe they're selling it to someone else, but I have researched and found out that was the current owner. And so, fuck them. So anyways, I just wanted to get that over with. I will be talking about that every single video, as you guys know, until something changes. I am going to dedicate the rest of my life not only to making movies, but to making the lives of these people who are trying to destroy mine miserable. And so, now let's talk about Saints Row in terms of, like, reviewing it. So, I did make a pros and cons list. Let's just start off with that. Here are the pros. Number one, I would say begrudgingly, this is the best Saints Row setting ever. It's such a beautiful setting. It's such a fun setting to go around. It's so much better. It's so much more colorful and dynamic than the setting for the old games in Stillwater. It's such a beautiful place to walk around and everything. And I really think that out of everything, they did do a good job picking out the setting. You know, they obviously did it because more diversity and all that kind of stuff. But when I think about it, I just think, you know, it's actually a really good setting. And I think that it was a great choice. And I'm really happy with the playing the game and just how it looked. It was very, very colorful. Also, I think the guns were pretty good. Pretty good. It's hard to say if they're better than the guns in the other games, but I think they are pretty close to being better. My favorite one was the hand cannon pistol. I used that one like all the time. I would use that, or I would use the police shotgun. There were also some fun, unique missions that I liked. Overall, you know, the train heist was okay. That was pretty cool. There was probably my favorite mission was, and I know this will sound funny, one of the main characters, the black nerd stereotype, he is a part of a LARP organization, and of course that's really queer and dumb to have that, but I think it's cool because, you know, I can excuse that because in the past games you had things like in Saints Row 4 you had the role-playing game, you know, the RPG Dungeons and Dragons type of thing where you went around making the choices and it would lead you to an ending, whatever. You know what I mean. You know that one mission in Saints Row 4. Saints Row 4, to be fair, I really like Saints Row 4, but I do think it could have been better. It didn't feel like a full game. This didn't feel like a full game either, though. Like, that's the thing, is that I do think that this is almost better than Saints Row 4, but it's still not. And then, obviously, it's not better than Saints Row 2 or 3. But there's this LARP mission series that I really, really loved, where the black nerd, he basically wants you to help him advance in this LARP game, and so you have to go around destroying these I don't know, effigies or whatever, these symbols of the different LARP groups, and it's like a really cool, fun, like, battle series. And it ends up, I would say, it ends up being the hardest mission in the entire game, because you end up having to fight for the crown, and you have to do that by doing this series of challenges. And of course they had this one really, really funny challenge where you have to, like, crawl through this artificial ass of, like, a monster creature or something, and you have to destroy all these polyps, and I thought that was funny. And then you have to go to this arena, and there is a really hardcore, intense battle where you have this player who just keeps on her life. She just refuses to die, because she's not a good team player. She's not a good game player. And so fighting her is a nightmare. And it was actually harder than anything else in the entire game. And they had another player who did that too. They had this one player who, she had, like, minions that she would summon again, and then she wouldn't die again, and then she ended up giving it up. And I just really thought that this was a fun and unique mission, although it was a series of missions. And I think actually it was a better story than the actual game story. It was a fun little thing, but the rest of the game, oh God, horrible, 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 horrible. You know what I could compare this game to? It's like a really bad version of Being Human. If you guys don't know, Being Human, the US version, is like my favorite TV show of all time. And it's all about these monsters who want to live normal lives, and so they live in this apartment together, and they cook together and do all this stuff, and it's really like, it's kind of goofy at some points, but it's overall an extremely good show. And this was like the same type of thing where you had this, like, this group of people, like, oh, they're just normal people, and they want to live together, and they want to have a criminal enterprise, and oh, isn't that sweet? Isn't that cool and fun? Aww. So I really thought that the story was weak, and we'll get to the overall story, because that's not even like the full story. There's some other really dumb shit too. So I have a very long list of cons. I mean, I wrote down cons every single time I saw one, and there's so many cons. Oh my God. These are some of the worst characters in video game history. Horribly unlikable, unsympathetic. Very reminiscent of the characters in American Horror Story Death Valley. The ones who sat around in a restaurant talking about jerking each other off. The very similar caricatures here of, like, oh, these are the hip young people who the young people will identify with. And it's like, no, I do not identify with any of these people. Even the character that I created, no. The villains are boring and garbage. I mean, you have this one villain, the idols. They're trash. It's like this group of people with, like, kitty cat helmets on, and they're really boring. And then you have the leader of Marshall Security, and he's this boring, like, southern white guy stereotype. Very, very boring. And then you have the New Holly guy, and he's this Mexican guy, and he has this stereotypical Mexican outfit and the stereotypical, he's like a character out of a telenovela, and he's such a boring villain, and he's such a like really, really bad. Like when you compare it to past Saints Row games like the Dominatrix from the DLC for Saints Row 4, or even what's that guy's name? Zen? Even compared to Zen, the main alien from Part 4. Such better villains than these people. There's a glitch just about every minute or so. There's so many glitches, if I listed them all, it would take hours. They released, and this is probably one of the biggest issues, they released a broken game only to bombard people with updates to cover their asses, okay? Because when I started playing this game, it could barely even function. And then the next day I wake up and I see, all these updates just installed, and there's another update that's installing right now, and it's like, God, there's so many fucking updates. It's like, you really thought it was okay to release a broken game? It's like this game has never been tested by anyone. To me, I really think that this game, it feels like a rip-off remake of GTA meets Mafia 3. Those are the two games that it reminded me of, not any Saints Row games. Every time you think you like something in the game, it immediately gets ruined. For example, there's a mission where you have to fuck up a bad guy's cool custom car. Another car you're not allowed to have after the mission is over, so he'll tell you where to go. But then, plot twist, you were then forced to drive that shitty car to escape from bad guys and get to a destination on a time limit. What trash. Either have it where you drive the car at its peak, or have it where you mess up his car and drive your own car. And of course, it rips off Mafia 3 by having an island with a broken down amusement park where you fight bad guys. It's the replacement for the Jinkies games from past Saints Row games. And it really sucks. Very dull action, very few good weapons. Then they take the fighting away from you and make it into a cutscene instead of allowing you to have fun finishing the game. And it's only used once, as if the game is more superior because they only have one survival game, not many ones you can play on your own free time. And there's this weird thing where, like, features from past games you can't do until later points in the game. And so for most of the game, you can't call any of your contacts to come help you, which is a staple thing to do in Saints Row games. With dialogue like, "Stop littering!" and constant politically correct agenda lines like, "We have to take this certain car to do this thing because it has less carbon emission." You'd think the game is trying to go the South Park route of satirizing SJWs. But no, they really think saying stuff like, "Stop littering!" to bad guys makes the characters likable. You're not allowed to keep vehicles from certain missions. For example, there's one where you have to ride in a go-kart to kill this bird guy. Then the mission is over, and you're teleported out of the go-kart, and it disappears. I mean, that is, like, that's not fun at all. Do you have to stop playing a game in the middle of a mission? Sorry, you can't, or else you will have to start that mission all over again. That's right, in 2022, you are not allowed to save games in the middle of missions. I did this for one mission that was very difficult, and then when I got back to play it, I had to start the mission all over again. Multiple times. NPCs are so useless, they might as well not even exist except for in cutscenes. There was one mission where you have to defend the Saints' hideout against bad guys. Now, this was where you first get the church. This woman on your team, I think like Nunani or something, Nanu or something, I don't know. She literally just stands there frozen in space, and she's invincible to getting injured, and it's like another glitch out of 1,000 glitches. Meanwhile, you go to the back of the church where the guy on the team gets easily downed in 2 seconds while he runs around shirtless, shooting people with a pew 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 pistol. Bad guys literally take selfies while they're fighting to the death. Which, is that really all you got? Like, is that all the comedy you got in talking about this type of story? No sex with any main characters or any sex appeal in general in this game. This is a big problem for me because it's like, oh, just because it's 2022 means we're not allowed to do that fun thing where you go up to main characters, you say romance, and then they have like a funny little cutscene. Like in Saints Row 4, you had the thing like with where you go up to the Shauna or whatever, the girl, and then she punches you and knocks you out, and you have sex off screen, and it's like a very funny, cutesy type of thing, and it's like, oh, you can have sex with any of them, and so it's not like it's like discriminatory. It's like you can do it with anyone, and it's like a funny, fun adult thing in this game that like it's supposed to be made for adults, not for children. Oh no, you can't do that in this game because it's 2022. We can't do that. There's no dildos as weapons or anything else. Basically, like, all the sexuality was taken out of the game because it was written for adult children, in my opinion. The characters look and act like little kids, the types who would never play video games in general. The only way to get health is asinine and makes the game way more difficult than it actually is if you took that element out of it. You wait until this bar is filled up, and then you do this pre-animated combo on a bad guy and it fills up one little chunk of health. The only ways you can get health other than that are headshots and perks and upgrades. If you're having trouble killing bad guys, you can just get into a car and run them all over without taking any damage. I did this for the Litter Bugs Wanted mission. I died over and over again, only to just get in this crappy random car and run over the boss until he died. Meanwhile, I took no damage and the car was in perfect condition. Driving the helicopter was worse than GTA 5. You constantly run into buildings and shake around like someone with Parkinson's disease. The way you get home decor is so dumb. What you do is you take pictures of items like a scavenger hunt, and then someone with a 3D printer prints them out and puts it in your inventory. Do you want to know about some bad dialogue too? Really cringeworthy dialogue? I don't think I have it written on here. You're sitting in the car with the shirtless guy, the shirtless cook, whatever, and she says, you say, the main character, you say, you know someone with a 3D printer? And Kevin says, yeah, Teddy. And then she says, oh, that really hot guy that you used to date? And he's like, no, the girl, Teddy. You know, the one with the mohawk and stuff. You know, that's the type of cringeworthy dialogue. Oh, that person that you used to date, that guy that you used to date? No, actually, the girl that I used to date. Like, okay, that's the type of dialogue we have in a 2022 video game. In 2022, you still play open world games where all the buildings are boarded up and you have nothing inside them. This game looks almost like early 2000s PS2 game. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, that in order to get textures for guns and for weapons, you have to take pictures of textures. Yeah, that's very special, very, very special and unique. Mostly all the missions follow the same formula. You start off doing something simple, innocent enough, like going out to get donuts. Then you get shot at, and you have to do something else to kill bad guys. Very, very dull and repetitive. Even the final mission of the game. It's all about, oh, you're having a party, and then something bad happens, and you have to get out of it and kill everyone. Examples of actual missions in a 2022 video game made for adults. Do whatever you can to get a Happy Meal toy. Ride in a go-kart and chase and kill a Birdman riding in his own go-kart. Lay in bed depressed and then attempt to make waffles while depressed. Excuse me. Every time you go on Wardrobe app, it automatically puts underwear on, like the game creators want to censor your body. That's another strange thing, is that they have like this thing where you have to have censorship on the lower half of your body, but then for the upper half it's perfectly okay to not have any quote-unquote cover-up. There's only 12 wanted missions, which is disappointing to say the least. More stealing from Mafia 3. There's a big mission where you get on a yacht and kill everyone and leave it as it burns down. Very similar to Mafia 3. The fun activities are now a part of business ventures, similar to GTA 5, where you buy the businesses and do chores for them. Lots of comparisons to those two games. And so an example would be in GTA 5, you can buy that one submarine business venture where you go underneath the water and you collect pieces of whatever, and then at the end it's like, oh, you completed that mission. Well, they have a similar type of thing where you go around collecting these toxic waste trucks and you take them to the toxic waste plant. A couple of glitches. I got repeatedly told to go to a loot location over and over, even if I already looted it. Garbage cans popped up in the middle of the street. We were told to kill enemies. Then those enemies would be a mile away where we could barely even shoot them. If we went after them, we were told we were leaving the mission. So we had to snipe them. And at the time, I didn't have any sniper rifle, so I had to stand there and shoot these bad guys like a million miles away with a pistol, because they would not be able to spawn to you. And then there's this other hilarious thing where, you know how in normal games you can have cars that drive next to you and they can match your speed and everything? Well, in this game, the cars can't do that. The cars have to morph to you. They have to teleport to you. So every couple of seconds that you drive, and you drive a couple more miles, a car will glitch and it will teleport next to you. And then it'll do that over and over and over again. That happens with the NPCs, the main characters. But then, whenever police chase you or gang cars chase you, they can match your speed just fine. And so I find it hilarious that they could figure out how to do that, but they didn't know how to do it with the main characters who are friendly. The final story was weak as hell. The final mission was another Mafia 3 thing, mostly. Tried to have this like Wild West theme at the end, but it did not work at all. So basically the story is that there's this bad guy, this Mexican bad guy. He's like a caricature, and you put him in prison with martial security. But then you think about, oh, maybe I should work with the bad guy because martial security bad. And so you break the bad guy out of prison and you have him join your team to do a train heist. Then after that, it's like, oh, will he join you? Will he just go away? Oh, no, he's going to betray you. And so what happens is this bad guy, he gets jealous of you having friends. And so he tries to kill you, and then he takes all your friends hostage so that they can, quote-unquote, be his friends. And there's this message of, like, where he's like, I can see that when you are with your friends, you are stronger with your friends than when you are alone. And it's like, God, this is cringeworthy. It's so weird. Like, what? This is the story of Saints Row? Ooh. Like, just, ooh. So that's the final mission. The bad guy, who you knew was bad the whole game, gets jealous that you have friends, so he get mad, try to kill you. And then you kill him, and the story is over. Just really, really, ugh. The only message that I really liked, which was still like beating you over the head with this message, was to just be your own boss. You know, that with the LARP mission, you know, it was all about how the black nerd stereotype, he really wanted to be a part of the most popular group in this LARP game. And the main character says, no, you just make your own LARP group. And then you can be the boss of that yourself, and we can all work together and make it the best LARP game ever. And, like, I thought that's a good message. So, overall, this game was not only a technical disaster, but it took away everything that makes a Saints Row game good. There's characters in the game who are dressed up in bondage outfits for no reason. It's just like, oh, that's stylish, that's in past Saints Row games a little bit, and so let's just do that here for some reason. And it's like, this just does not work. Like, see, the people who make these games and make these movies now, they don't understand what makes these things work. They don't understand that, like, oh, people want to have fun when they play a video game. They don't want to be lectured about politics. They don't want to be lectured about white men bad, women good. You know, they don't want that in video games. They shouldn't want that anywhere else because that's fucking racist and misandrist. But especially not when you're trying to have entertainment. This is definitely the worst Saints Row game because it does not feel like a Saints Row game. Sure, there are things that were improvements a little bit, but mostly everything was a downgrade. I would give this game, I don't really rate games in terms of food. I would rate this game a D-. It really should be an F, but I did find a couple of little things that I could say, yeah, pretty good. You know, these things are pretty good. And I don't know. I don't think I would ever play it again. That's another thing. Like, I'd much rather... All this game did was make me want to go back and replay the old Saints Row games. Like, seriously. And the characters were such trash. It's like, you know, I want to go play the old characters again. I want to play, Johnny Gat. You know, I want to play with people like him, not people like Nunani or something, like just this random girl who's like, she's like just a token Middle Eastern girl, kinda, like just like really boring characters. And you can tell like the people who made the game probably just modeled the characters after themselves, and like, sorry, but you're just not interesting. And when I play a game, I want to play a character that's interesting. Like, for instance, just think about the video game Bully. In Bully, you have this character named Jimmy, and he's this troubled kid. He has a stepfather, and he's dropped off at this shitty private academy, and he tries to rise up the ranks in these cliques, and he makes friends with all these people from the different cliques, and then he ends up like revolting against this really evil group of people. And like, see, like, he is such a great character. The whole game, every single thing in the game is devoted to developing his character. Like, just thinking about the mission where he helps with Algernon, this fucking nerd dweeb Algernon. Like, just thinking about that mission alone, like, all the stuff in Bully was all built around making this character a great character. In Saints Row, they don't have anything like that. Like, the stuff they have is like, oh, this person's political. They make all these political comments. Sorry, excuse me. And, oh, they cook, or, oh, they listen to music, and, oh, we had this, like, ghost pepper chili night. Oh, my God. Ghost pepper is so spicy. I can't handle the ghost pepper. You know, I'm a saint, and Saints fucking Row, and I can't handle a little bitch-ass ghost pepper? Oh, like, these characters, they're a bunch of wimpy little dweebs, and I don't like them at all. They're unlikable, they're not good characters. So anyways, please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of Saints Row 2022. Very, very dumb, stupid game. Could have been a lot better if they had just made a Saints Row game. If you had just stuck to all that made the other Saints Row games good, you could have made a good game. There were a lot more other glitches too, like I was talking about, like in my first playthrough, they really wanted you to play as this stereotypical black lesbian woman with that lesbian haircut that all the token lesbians have nowadays, where half their head is shaved bald, half their head is like spiky. They really wanted you to play as her. So in the opening, they show her opening the closet, and then they show like, oh, you can be anyone you want. And see, that's a problem, because it's like, oh, well, how do you know I'm going to be that character? You don't, but you want to force that character on me, because it's all about, with these people, forcing stuff on you instead of letting it be natural, organic, letting you pick. So, and then please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more honest video game reviews. Goodbye, everybody.